I'm in Stefan's garage at the moment, and I'm waiting for my participants of the 5th tour of this year. So I have 4 tours down this year, 4 guided tours where I've used these Cardo units intensively. So I've made all these units available to all the riders, and this is sort of my, in the middle of the year, takedown on how well these units worked. Also collected some feedback from the riders to see how the experience was with them. So here it is, riding with Cardo.
I struggle to see how you could really enjoy this kind of a tour without being able to communicate with the people around you.
I'm shocked. I'm really impressed with how it worked.
It would certainly be a selling feature for me. They were amazing.
It just makes riding a little bit easier, you know what I mean?
So I would also say it's almost mandatory to stay in contact.
Probably say I wouldn't do another tour without one. And this is the first one I've done with one.
What's up, my biker friends? Welcome back to another video. Let's talk about the communication units in Cardo. If you've seen some of the other videos, you know that I've partnered with Cardo. They've been so kind to provide some of their units that I can use now for my guided motorcycle tours. And we've had a few of those tours now this year. And I've been able to sort of have more experience how it is riding in a group with our Cardo units. So collecting the feedback from all the riders, there's basically sort of 3 main areas where these units really shine. And the first one is safety.
Actually, it was the most amazing experience, and safety-wise, it was excellent. We could warn people about upcoming events.
Exchange information on the fly, especially you know, when we take off.
Safety. It means obstacles in the road, cars coming up ahead.
Give each other a heads up when we're passing. I mean, it just facilitated everything.
But it's such a wonderful tool to call out cars coming or hazards.
So if you're riding in a group and all the riders are connected, it's a huge safety benefit, because it is easier to alert other riders that are sort of further back in the group if there's anything sort of dangerous coming up on the road ahead. Especially if you're riding in the middle of the back of the pack, you can't really see the road as well as the riders riding in front. So it's been a huge benefit just to alert, you know, for traffic, or if there's any kind of debris or dirt on the road, you can alert other riders. It's the same if you start to overtake, what the traffic's like. Really helps, especially with some of the riders that are maybe a bit new to riding. It really helps them a lot too, just to get that extra confidence that the road is clear, or they don't have to worry about anything. The other aspect, and I would probably put that also in the safety categories, because you can talk to the tour guide at any given time if you got something going on. So we had this incident where one of the riders had a bee in the helmet, and he just needed to pull over and stop. You know, if you're a large enough group and, you know, this is your last rider and you don't see him pull over, and the group keeps going, there's a chance you lose him. This way we knew he had to pull over. We all pulled over, you know, waited a couple of minutes, you know, so he got that bee out of his helmet. And then we keep going. Other things are just like comfort things, you know, comfort break. If you need to stop for any reason, need to go to the bathroom, whatever, you're tired. We had that as well too. If you're sleepy, I usually tell the riders, like, if you're tired, let me know, because then we just pull over. We usually do a stop every hour to make sure that, you know, people can hydrate and just take a quick break. But, you know, sometimes in the middle of, if you get tired, we had that a few times too, when someone said, you know, it's time for a break. Then, you know, in the group where you don't have communication, there isn't much you can do. Either you keep riding until the tour guide decides to stop, or you need to pass everyone in the group and sort of make yourself known. So I think that's a huge benefit just on the safety end. Now the second thing is the group experience.
As a group, I had a greater experience, a positive experience with having the other people making comments and talking back and forth. You know, everybody said, oh yeah, I didn't see that. Thanks for pointing that out, you know, by the voice.
If you don't have the communication, you're missing three quarters of the trip.
You have the opportunity to joke, speak, talk about what you see, and kind of also not being limited to those few pauses you do to interact with the team, you actually can do it there?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, for sure, sometimes the chatter got a bit much, but you could just turn down the volume. So, overall, definitely benefit for sure.
The fact that you can talk to each other while you ride and share with the other group riders what you see. You pass a nice waterfall or something and you point that out, so you can share what you experience with the others and make that more of a group experience. If you don't have communication in your helmet, and you can still enjoy the scenery and all of that, but it's different if you're riding together as a group, if you can share that at that very moment while you ride. And the feedback has also been, for most of the riders, that's definitely something that elevates the group experience. It also helps to just communicate. I mean, most riders that come together, they just got to know each other, and you have a story to share while you ride, because the scenery that you're going through reminds you of your last trip to Norway, for example. You can share that experience. You can talk about these things, and that really makes a difference on how the group kind of bonds over those experiences. And that, for me, that was one of the reasons for me personally why I thought it was a good idea to sort of introduce that to my guided tour rides, that people can talk to each other because of that sort of elevation of a group experience when you can talk to each other. And the third part is the whole fun factor. I mean, if you could listen into some of the stuff we talk about in the comms,
the fun and the Mickey taking that went on did add to it, I will say. It made you smile in your helmet.
Have some laughs. It's really nice.
And you get to bullshit with all the people on the tour, and it turns out to be a whole lot of fun.
Thoroughly. I didn't think I'd enjoyed it this much, but I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I almost think that it's a must.
The whole experience, because we were joking around and people were making humorous remarks and whatnot.
There's a lot of joking around, a lot of banter going on in the groups that I had. So there's a lot of not so serious stuff, and there's a bit of chatter. Can get too much sometimes, but most of the times there's a lot of fun going on. It's just cracking jokes and just sort of sharing enjoyment of the tour. And I think that the fun factor is something that, if you haven't used one of these things, and every ride that I've had so far, that was one of the things where it made a huge difference, especially if you have everyone in the comms, because a lot of times when you have sort of different units, especially if someone's rolling in with the Senna unit, or you don't have the exact same units. I'm using the exact same units for everyone. They're all in Cardos, top of the line, latest models. So the quality of the call the quality of the communication is excellent. If you have other units in there, it's not exactly the same experience. So if you have that, and the quality is there, then you just think about the stuff that you say. And like I said, some of the jokes and some of the things that have been said on this tour really adds to the fun of the ride. So I think that's quite important. Now, these Cardo units, they do speak to Senna units, and I've tried it in a few occasions. I think the overall sort of the resume on that one is in most cases it's not a very good experience unless you have a very, very current Senna unit. Now, I'm not very familiar with the Senna units itself, but I think the latest ones, they have pretty good noise cancellation. I think the earlier ones didn't. And the way you patch the units in is through Bluetooth. So if you're close enough to the Cardo unit, you can patch in a Senna unit. When they're too old, the connection is not very good, and also the noise cancellation of the Senna units I don't think is very good. So because you have that unit in the group, it kind of degrades the entire experience of the entire group. So with newer units, so that was for the best experience I've had, was during the Trans-Italian Marathon. So 3 of us and 1 rider had a Senna unit. If we were close enough together, the Bluetooth, actually, I'm quite surprised how long it goes. There's quite a bit of distance you can put between. It's probably maybe 100 meters, 200 meters easily. So that's good. Then the quality is somewhat okay. But the moment that Senna unit gets out of range, you got these crackling sounds in there, and it really is annoying, something that you wouldn't have with using the same manufacturer in the units. Now, I haven't done center units now in one group, but I've done all Cardo, and if you have all the same units, it's a completely different experience. There's a few things that I, now having used these units, that there are room for improvements, I think, for Cardo, to make a few changes. Especially when you're in group rides. It is relatively straightforward to add units to a group, especially when you use the app. You can just use the units, you don't need the app, but the app on the phone makes it a lot easier. That part is easy enough. The one thing that is a bit annoying is that there is a limit on how many riders you can add to a group at the moment. I think the limit is 15. And you cannot kick out old units. So if you had riders that were patched in at some point in time, you can't delete them out of the group. For some reason that doesn't work. I don't know why. You have to set up a new group and then patch in every person again. That's what I had to do in my last ride, because I had all the units that I had. They were sort of patched up together in one group, and then of course people would bring their own units and I would patch them in, and then at some point I hit the maximum number of people and all of a sudden the whole thing didn't work. Didn't really like that so much. Second thing, and I suggested that already to Cardo because they were keen on getting the feedback of how that is riding in the group, was that it would be nice in the app, if you're the group admin, to see what unit is speaking or talking, because there is sometimes, depending on how the units are mounted, especially with modular helmets. So we have modular helmets when people open the lid up, basically, and the microphone sits in the airstream, you can get wind noise. And even though it has very good sort of noise cancellation in there, there's a limit to how well that works. So if you've got like the wind buffeting and noise in there, in order to troubleshoot that, it would be nice to see what unit is on. They don't have that in there. Maybe one of these days they put that function in there. That would be really helpful. But most of the time, especially if everyone's got the helmet closed, you don't have any issues with the quality and the wind buffeting. So far so good. I think these units are a huge benefit. Elevate the group rides, and I've got a few more coming up. See how that goes for the rest of the time. But every single person that have used these units, they were absolutely thrilled with. Some were used to it already or had their own units, but the very majority of the people that rode with me did not have that experience yet, and it was all positive so far. So anyway, guys, if you're thinking about riding with friends, a group, and you're still sort of not quite sure if these things will benefit your ride, I can definitely recommend give it a try. It doesn't have to be this particular unit, but having everyone in sort of the group chat really makes a difference. If you got questions or comments, put them in the comments section. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, ride safe and stay awesome.